Hello everyone, I'm Nerdy Waffle and I'm back here again with another video. Today I'm going to be talking about my first impressions on playing Pokemon Legends Arceus. Almost a year after release. Yes, I know. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are currently the biggest craze right now. But I wanted to play a Pokemon game that had very positive feedback and was technically on the way to Gen 9 in terms of Pokemon Switch games. I also wanted to play the Pokemon game that came right before Gen 9 to see what expectations I'd have for Scarlet and Violet once I actually get to play them. Pokemon Legends Arceus is actually a spin-off that was released on January 28 of 2022. But in my opinion, the way how the game's played and how it just looks and just feels, I really feel like that this game was supposed to be the bridge to the next generation of Pokemon games. Arceus came out after the Gen 4 remakes, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, which released on November 19, 2021. Although the remakes were technically released after Sword and Shield, they were still Gen 4 remakes, meaning that the gameplay mechanics were pretty much the same as their DS counterparts, with a couple of new features and even some missing features from their Platinum counterpart. I know some people didn't like these remakes while others thoroughly enjoyed them, but we're not talking about those games. We're here to talk about Pokemon Legends Arceus. After playing the first couple of minutes, I realized that I get isekai'd into the ancient Sinnoh region known as Hisui. Right off the bat, I can definitely tell that this was a Pokemon game. The characters, the design, and the overall feeling of it just felt like a game from the mainline series, even though this is a spin-off game. I saw the professor that apparently everyone loves, but I personally think he's a mid character. And just seeing 3 starters at the beginning just felt so nice, especially the fact that they're from different regions. It definitely was a refreshing feeling from the past 2 games before playing this title. My expectations were pretty high, given that I've played Sword and Shield for hundreds of hours, and I played a little bit of the Gen 4 remakes, a couple of hours in, so I was pretty ready to be wowed by Arceus. To start, the game already feels more fluid and improved than Gen 8's games. Even though it's another Pokemon game, the graphics itself were a big upgrade compared to Gen 8's. The graphics in Gen 8 were pretty okay, the textures were pretty bad, and I know those were one of the bad things about the game when it initially released. The beginning cutscene of Arceus and the tutorial just felt a lot more engaging and just felt more improved from its predecessors. In a sense, I think Game Freak was definitely leaning that this was supposed to be the foundation and bridge towards their next generation after Sword and Shield. With only a couple of hours in playing the game, I absolutely fell in love with the character customization that Arceus bought. Sword and Shield and the Gen 4 remakes had character customizations. They were pretty amazing for their respective games. Sword and Shield allowed you to really make your trainer match the aesthetic you were going for, such as editing your hair, eyes, outfit, and any other small details. The Gen 4 remakes had character customization, but it was limited to presets, meaning you had a set amount of outfits and the hairstyles would change with those outfits. I would describe Arceus character customization as a combination of Sword and Shield and the Generation 4 remakes, meaning that you were freely able to customize your character just like in Sword and Shield, but certain customization options were locked until you reached a certain point of the game, just like in the Gen 4 remakes. But despite that, the ability to customize your character this early in the game is just something that's really amazing. The fact that you get to make your character look the way you want it this early definitely resonates with players that just want to look how they want to look at the beginning of the game and throughout. The art style of Arceus is definitely based on like early ancient Japan, or specifically in this case based on like ancient Sinnoh design. There's actually an Easter egg in the game where you find the modern outfit, which is actually the same outfit that Cyrus wears in the Gen 4 remakes or in the original Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum Pokemon games. Overall, my opinion of the design, I think it was pretty spot on in this game the way how they described ancient Sinnoh. Next up is the actual core gameplay of Pokemon Legends Arceus. Although the game is a Pokemon game, you'd probably assume that it had the same mechanics if you've played a Pokemon game. But think of this game as if Pokemon had a secret love child with Dark Souls, and the child was never really able to see Daddy Dark Souls. You get to dodge and roll in this game. You have to dodge and roll to avoid Pokemon attacks, which is very common in this game surprisingly. I still haven't mastered the art of dodging, and I still end up getting hit by wild Pokemon and almost dying. The dodge mechanic is definitely and heavily used when you face against noble Pokemon. Noble Pokemon are like the bosses that you face throughout the game. Also, Pokemon battles are a little bit different in Pokemon Arceus. In previous games, when you face a Pokemon, you'd be separated into this field or instance where it was just you and your opponent or the wild Pokemon. In Pokemon Arceus, you technically engage in a battle that remains in the open world, meaning that other wild Pokemon can join in on your battle. And here's the biggest surprise. You can actually move while you're doing a Pokemon battle in Pokemon Arceus. This is something that should have been added a long time ago when Pokemon became 3D models. I just think that little feature is just so crazy that you can run around, watch your Pokemon do moves, hit another Pokemon, and even look from the perspective of the opponent's point of view and just move around. I just feel like that's just something that's really neat and very immersive. Now, comparing Pokemon Arceus to Generation 8 or Pokemon Sword and Shield, I think Arceus is definitely a big upgrade in terms of just how the game feels, the way how the textures in this game compared to Sword and Shield. And I really believe that when this game came out, people really thought that this was how Gen 9 will be. This was like the bridge to that next generation, and this was the expectation on Gen 9 would be moving forward. In comparison to the Gen 4 remakes, I feel like they just needed to release a game a couple months after the remakes, just so they could have some form of compatibility with each other or like relation, or just to have something unlock in another game for the other game if you have data for both. So I really just think it was just like an Easter egg correlation type of thing. But again, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, they were just remakes. They didn't really add anything too crazy except returning to the classic chibi style of previous games and just adding new features that did quality of life changes to the game compared to its DS counterparts. Overall, as a diehard Pokemon fan, I give Pokemon Legends Arceus a 9 out of 10. Pretty hefty score for a game I've only played a couple hours, right? And not to mention that I played it almost a year after. The fact is that Arceus implemented some fan favorite features that people wanted back in like current Pokemon games. An example is the fact that you can have your Pokemon outside of its Pokeball. It's not like the same feature like in Heart Gold and Soul Silver where the Pokemon followed you. They kind of just stand there and interact, and they could have various sizes because of the Titan Pokemon in Arceus. They did add that feature though back for the Gen 4 remakes, but apparently it's not that good in design, and it was pretty hilarious. LOL. And Arceus just has more of an open feeling to it, which I believe is Game Freak's first attempt to prep us for Gen 9. It's with Pokemon Arceus, just getting ready for an actual open world Pokemon game. And in my honest opinion, Pokemon Arceus is definitely a graphic update over Sword and Shield. Now, I'm not asking for a high-end PC gaming graphics with a Pokemon game, because at the end of the day, it's a Pokemon game. I don't really expect crazy 4K images flashing on the screen. But other than that, I'm pretty excited to go ahead and play Scarlet and Violet. I'll probably be releasing my first impressions of the video game after this video, just showcasing me playing a couple of hours on it. So all I could say is after playing Arceus, I think Game Freak might be actually listening to their quote-unquote loyal fan base. So here's to Scarlet and Violet being good. So with all that being said, I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace